mountain, he claimed, even when it virtually stared him in the face. Lies, 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 I was sick to death of them, he wrote. Of all the liars in Africa, I believe the people of Rwanda are by far the most thorough. It's not surprising, perhaps, that historically dissimulation and secrecy became prized in an incestuous court beset with intrigue, where nobles lived in constant fear for their lives. Ritualists relayed messages from a supreme being only they could decipher. Earthly power rested with a queen mother who sat invisible behind a screen, and the aristocracy exerted feudal dominion over the peasantry, obliging each hamlet to spy on its own inhabitants and report back to the throne. Around the personage of the Mwami, who was never publicly seen to eat or drink, swirled a haze of euphemistic terminology. The king is seated indicated he was performing bodily functions. The king has given his person was the closest a courtier came to indicating the Mwami might have died. To be elliptical, layered, intellectually opaque, these were signs of good breeding. The crudeness of direct speech was reserved for peasants. Kinyarwanda itself is a language infused with subtle wisps of meaning. Hidden references, its intended audience, immediately picks up, but foreigners miss. Oh, if only you spoke Kinyarwanda, you'd understand. It's as clear as day, a Rwandan will often exclaim in frustration, after translating a politician's content-packed speech, which, when converted into English, appears, disappointingly, to say nothing terribly significant. To the Rwandans' ears, the threats are direct, the promises crystal clear. Look up the word wanje in a Kinyarwanda dictionary, and the translation reads wisdom or sense. But it can also be translated as cunning, deception, a quality Rwandan children are encouraged to develop, seen as the ultimate sign of maturity. It goes hand in hand with the concept of inhwari, which French historian Gérard Prunier defines as a quality of impassivity, aloofness, being beyond and above events, implacable. Inhwari was expected of young Tutsi boys destined to become warriors. Dignity before spontaneity. In this respect, adds Prunier, the culture the Rwandans most resemble are the Japanese. But what he is describing also echoes the stiff upper lip, made famous by English aristocrats, a characteristic associated in both countries with an upper class groomed from birth for leadership and military service in defence of the nation. As a Rwandan psychologist once told me, to show emotional reserve is considered a sign of high standing. You do not just pour out your heart in Rwanda. You do not cry. It's the opposite of Western oversharing, a form of stoicism. A culture that glories in its impenetrability, that sees virtue in misleading. To someone proposing to write a non-fiction account embracing many of the most controversial episodes in Rwandan history, it posed a bit of a challenge. Two deadly secrets squat at the base of Rwanda's modern history. The circumstances in which the charismatic commander of the rebel Rwandan Patriotic Front, or RPF, met his end in 1990, and the question of who shot down the plane carrying the Rwandan president and his Burundian counterpart, a double presidential assassination that set the 1994 genocide in motion. Few contemporary histories are so thoroughly contested. With the passage of the years, a variety of analysts, commissions of inquiry, and investigating magistrates have changed their minds on key points, angrily contradicted one another, or simply given up on the attempt to establish the truth, opting for a bland, no one will ever know. The conflicting narratives would be understandable if the events in question dated back thousands of years. The fact that they concern episodes that took place in the last quarter of a century, involving players often still available for interview, highlights the problem posed by the calculated unreliability of key witnesses. When it came to embroidering the truth, Patrick Karegeya, Rwanda's former head of external intelligence, knew more than most. During one of our most intriguing conversations, he explained some of the characteristics of the political lie. We've been talking about Muammar Gaddafi, whom Patrick, almost everyone referred to him by his first name, had met several times. For decades, African rebel groups routinely turned to the Libyan leader for arms and funding, and he often obliged. Like many despots, Patrick said, Gaddafi possessed an elephantine memory for faces and names. He was like